and that was sort of what led me on my road. So I blame Steven Spielberg for me being here. So it's his fault you're all stuck with me today. So if you want to pass the book, pass it that way. So I then decided that I was going to go to university. So I went to the University of Salford in Manchester and did a Bachelor of Science in Media Technology. I finished there with a first class honours back in 2000 and, where are we? 12 years ago I graduated. So then, 12 years ago, my maths is no good. And I got a first class honours degree, so it worked out quite well. And in that time, the past 12 years, I've worked for a number of different companies, both in a freelance capacity and a contract role capacity, including some of these. And there's probably a couple of noticeable ones on there that you're probably looking at, namely Twitch at the bottom and the small indie company Blizzard up at the top. And obviously now I work for Ross. And I've been at Ross for four years nearly. 3.5 of my years at Ross were training people on how to use the Ross equipment, which we'll come on to later on today. And just recently, I've actually started a new role at Ross as a solutions architect, which means now I've moved into designing these sort of facilities. So I've moved on from operating the equipment and showing people how to use the equipment to now actually getting involved with people like Joe and Jin and Tom from Confetti, where they might come to us and say, we want to build a new building with X, Y, and Z. I will design that studio, present it to them, and then hopefully they go ahead and buy it and we get to a situation like this today. So that is now my current role. So just to go through some of the roles I have done in the past 12, 13 years. I've been a vision mixer. Everyone know what a vision mixer is? Yeah, we've got a big Ross Carbonite desk up at the back, which I'll be showing you later, but that is where I have spent the majority of my working career, is being a vision mixer. I've been a director. Does anyone know the difference between the two? Because people often confuse them for one and the same. Because people are probably, yeah, go ahead. Exactly. So on bigger productions, them two roles, traditionally they can be the same role. And I know here, I can't see who's up on the desk. I think it might be Andrew. It's Andrew. Andrew is currently vision mixing and directing because there's no one telling him what to do. He's cutting the cameras. He's doing everything. So if it goes wrong, it's Andrew's fault. In bigger productions, especially when it comes to football, big esports events, big live events, they'll actually be split into two separate jobs. So the vision mixer is just there to press the buttons the director is telling them. To go one step further, you'll also have an assistant director. It can get very confusing. But usually you're dealing with 40, 50 cameras on these big shoots, and it's impossible for one person to have eyes across everything. I've produced things, so I know you've produced things yourself. We've had producers in this room I've met and spoke to. I've produced events, so everyone knows what a producer does, right? Do you want me to explain what it is? Yeah? Quite an underrated role, I think. There's a lot of work that goes on before the actual event in the role of a producer, and sometimes I think it's the role that's probably most overlooked of how important it actually is. A replay operator. So I've operated the replay machines. I know James in here has operated replay. We spoke about it numerous times. We've got a replay server up there's James. We've got a replay server up at the back that we can show people how to use later on. But one of the biggest things I've ever done is UEFA Champions League final. I was replay operator on about 7 or 8 years ago. High pressure, as you can probably imagine. The replay is the most pressured job in an entire broadcast because the directors want them replays yesterday, right? You know, when something happens, if it's not ready, it's gone. And by that point, you've got an upset director. VT op. VT op, anyone know what a VT op is? So VT ops are when you're playing out VT interviews, highlights packages, anything that's not live, right? Usually this can also be combined with the replay operator, but again, on bigger productions, these can very much be split into two separate roles. Generally, VT stands for this. This is again showing my age. Does anyone know what VT stands for? Yep. Videotape. Anyone ever got a videotape player at home anymore? Apart from Jin? 2. Perfect. That's usually better than the average than nowadays. Yeah, VT is videotape. So it comes from traditionally where someone would stand in a gallery with 30 tapes of video for stuff that has to play out, and they'd put them tapes in one at a time and play it out. Nowadays, it's different. They're done on servers, and it's a playlist, and you just hit play, but the role has kept its name as a VT operator. Sound op. Anyone interested in sound here? No one. for good reason. I appreciate soundies. No offense, sound guy, you're doing a great job. Sound guys are usually always kept in a room by themselves for a reason. I'm a video guy. I've never once agreed with sound. I can operate it. I can do what I need to do. But what them guys do on big mixes is special. It's just not what. I thought you muted my mic then for insulting him. Touche. Lighting up, again, similar. You're operating the lights here in the confettis. There's someone sat on the lighting desk over there, making them do funky things. And again, I've not done all of these things at the exact same time. Let me preface this. I'm not that good. This is just a variety of roles that I've done over the few years I've been working. A runner. Anyone here done any running before? Yeah? You will all, I guarantee, do shifts running for various productions before you leave university. In some ways, it's the Joey's role, right? No one likes to admit it, but it is. You're there to do whatever you're told to do. Generally, students are good runners because you're all very enthusiastic and you don't want pain, which we'll come on to later on. Vision engineer. So vision engineer, anyone know what a vision engineer does? Good. Okay. So up at the desk at the top over there, there's a place where you rack the cameras. What you mean by rack the cameras is each of the cameras in this room might look slightly different due to where the lights are, and you've got to try and match the colors of them cameras so that it all looks concise. That's the vision engineer's job. I think it's very boring. Again, it's needed to be done. Someone has to sit and do it, but it's just, to me, you sat looking at 4 small screens for 4 or 5 hours, and it's, not for me. Broadcast engineer. That was my first job when I actually graduated university. I moved down to London, and I was a broadcast engineer for Bloomberg News. That's generally like what Tom and Andrew and the guys do at the back here. Technical engineer, broadcast engineer. We just looked after the studio and all the equipment. So that's what that was. Systems integrator. So this is an interesting one. So this is essentially what I am doing now. A systems integrator is someone who designs TV studios, OB trucks, production suites, whatever it is you want that involves any sort of broadcast production equipment will be designed by someone. That is a systems integrator. Camera op. So I did get my wish. At one point, I did start making films and shooting things and various things like Steven Spielberg inspired me to do all them years ago. Not for a long time, though. I can still set up cameras, and I do still do some freelance stuff involving cameras, but I moved away from that. I moved towards vision mixing. And finally, solutions architect, which is my current role, which, as I've explained, is now where I design buildings like this. So that is all of the different jobs I've done in the past 12, 13 years. So very much like this man here, I've worn many hats in my time. That is not unnormal to have that many roles. Generally, a lot of these roles nowadays are combined to be a studio operator, would have to know a little bit about all of this. I never went that way. I always just went the individual way. And again, just to elaborate, a lot of this is from a freelance basis. So some of this work was contracts and full-time jobs, but a lot of it was just knowing people who needed someone to do certain things. I can do it. I went and did it. Any questions about anything there? All make sense? Good. Here's just a few pictures of me on my travels. So I've done a lot of traveling in the past 12, 13 years. There is not many countries I've not been to. And the reason I've put in this here is not to brag, it's just to show that if you learn this equipment that's in this facility right now, you could have a very good, fun, different life than most. I'm very blessed. Last year I did every single continent apart from the cold ones. There's just a few pictures there of the Royal Omani Opera House. I was in Prague. I've been to the States, America. They're the same place, Brian. Europe, Australia, Singapore, all these places just last year operating these bits of equipment. Again, I saw parts of the world that I never thought, right? I'm from Manchester. I'm from a council estate, first person in my family to ever go to university, and I've been around the world. And that's because I got involved in this industry and worked hard and got to see these places, which was my reward. The only reason I don't travel as much anymore is I've got 2 kids now and a beautiful fiance sat up there. She's going to hate me for pointing her out. We're getting married this year, so we thought after 12 years. Thank you. Yep, yo, Adrian, we did it. It's time to be at home a bit more, which is why I've moved into doing this. Otherwise, I'd still be doing the traveling and the freelance work and all the rest of it, but I've settled down a little bit now. So I'll go back to the original question of how did I get here? So last year, on my desk, arrived this diagram. And this diagram is the initial proposal of when we sat down with Confetti and said, we're going to put some equipment in your production. And this is what we came up with. So there's different parts to this. I'll just work left to right and explain what each of these bits of equipment is and whether it actually got installed or not, because this was the initial proposal. This isn't what's installed here now. So on the left-hand side, we've got the Smart Shell Robotics PTZ heads, which are in here. I don't know, I'm not sure actually where they are. I'm sure someone can point them out. Andrew, are they not here? Okay, they've been de-rigged. So essentially what these are robotic heads that can be mounted to the ceiling or onto a tripod that Andrew, as the vision mixer, can actually control the cameras from the desk. So it's a fully robotic system. We'll move across to the right. We've got the mirror up at the top. The mirror is the replay system I was telling you about earlier on. So we've got the replay server up at the back. And then we've got some Ultra Gears, Tally Systems, SRGs. I'm not going to bore you with what they are, but just they're pretty much engineering stuff, right? We don't need to worry about them right now. Expression Studio, up at the top in the middle, is our graphics engine. That is what we use to provide all of our graphics. And later on, I'm sure we'll throw some graphics on the screen so you can see what that does. And then the big thing is in the middle. We've got the Touch Drive TD2, which is the big purple and blue control surface that you can see there. We've also got the Ultrix Carbonite. We'll come on to a little bit what they are soon. I won't go into multi-views or anything, but this is pretty much the initial drawing. So we would have had a meeting with Joe and Jin and Tom and the guys at Confetti and said, this is what Ross can bring to you. Would you like to go ahead with it? I mean, I'm paraphrasing here. These meetings and process takes months, but for you guys, all you need to know is we sit down, we have meetings, we give them a diagram like this, explain how it all works, the benefits of it, and then luckily we're here today and you have that equipment. So this is just to sum up what we're going to be talking about a little bit today. I'm not going to get too techie on this. I was a student once and I hate PowerPoint as much as you guys probably hate PowerPoint. So I'm going to glance through this, and the reason for that is I'm actually going to get hands-on after this on the equipment, and I'm going to let you guys get hands-on with it as well. So if any of this goes over your head, pull me to one side. I can explain it in private later on, or I can just show you the equipment. It might be easier that way. I was very much a learn by doing, not by listening. That was just me. So here we go. So Carbonite Ultra. Anyone know what a Carbonite is? Has anyone worked with a Carbonite before? Good. Yeah, up at the back I see some hands waving. I should hope so, because I trained you on them a few months ago. So thanks, Andrew. Carbonite Ultra is the vision mixer. So the vision mixer, I think, is the most important part of any production, because fundamentally what comes out of the vision mixing desk is what goes live on air. The person operating that desk cannot make mistakes, because if they make mistakes, who's going to see it? Everyone, right? See, he's done it now. He's just proved my point, right? He's made a mistake there. He's cut to black. Everyone's seen it live. Now, if this was live TV and we were on Sky Sports or BBC Sports, we've just gone to black live on air. Do you know how much people get fined for being on black live on air when they shouldn't be? £5,000 a second for being black on air, unless it's predetermined. Do you know how many times you get to make that mistake working for the BBC or Sky? You don't. You make it once, you're gone. That's freelance work for you, and we'll come on to that later on. So what is a Carbonite Ultra? Carbonite Ultra is the vision mixer. I'm not going to go too much into all of this. This is just the Ross spiel, right? And I think Phil gave you a lot of this earlier on, so I'm just going to glance over a lot of this. The important parts here are what MEs are. Does anyone know what an ME is when it comes to vision mixing? Okay, so an ME is what we call a mix effect. So you know when Phil was talking about earlier how he made pictures and pictures and things like that? That's all built on an ME. So the more MEs you have, the more fancy stuff you can do. The Carbonite Ultra up there has, I think you've got a 3 ME license. Andrew's going to give me a thumbs up or down shortly to confirm that. But it's by the by, it doesn't matter. We'll show you what it means later and what it can do. The key thing here is downstream keys. So what downstream keys are when you want to bring graphics on or chroma key or floating videos and stuff. How many people have used OBS here? Right? Yeah, everyone, right? So in OBS, you build scenes, right? And within them scenes, you start layering things up where you've got your picture and your pictures, right? Think of them pictures and pictures as your keys on a broadcast. So when you're putting your main gameplay and you're putting your webcam on top and your graphics overlay on that, they're all key layers in a broadcast production. Yeah? So when I say keys, just think of them as layers in the broadcast workflow. So that is what they are. Mini Emmys, again, without going too much into this. So on a Ross Carbonite Ultra, you can have 6 key layers. So you can have your background video and then 6 things stacked up on top of that. What we have is mini Emmys. And what mini Emmys are, and these are unique to our desk, is just half an Emmy. So if you were doing gameplay, webcam feed, 1 graphic, that is only 2 key layers, right? Because you've got your main gameplay, your background, your graphic, and then your webcam. So you could build that on a mini Emmy. That way you're not using the full resources of a full Emmy. Again, this is going over all of your heads that I can tell by looking at the glassy eyes. It will make sense in about an hour when we sit on the system and go through it that way. Multi-viewers, again, I'm not going to bore you with this. A lot of this is marketing spiel they've told me to talk about, but they're not here, so it means I can glance over this stuff. Multi-views is just so you can see your sources. So when you go up to the back of the room, you'll see lots of screens that shows you all of the available sources in something like this. Again, I don't need to spend too much time on it. Media stores are quite important. You've got 4 still stores on each of these Carbonite systems, so that enables you to bring live stills into your production quickly. What you're going to probably find as you get more advanced into your courses, that you're going to say, well, on OBS or vMix, you can bring in loads of stills. I'm not limited to 4, right? Which you can. You can just layer them up. As long as you've got a PC that's powerful enough, you can do what you need to do. Doesn't work like that in live broadcast. You are always going to have limitations, and the reasons for that is the production switcher, the Ultra, is there to switch video. So anything else you're doing separate, there's something else in a broadcast workflow that can do it. So the big thing for you guys to take out of this, if anything, is when you start thinking about your home setups where you might stream on Twitch or whatever using OBS, that's great for your home setups, but it will only take you so far in a broadcast world. At some point, you're going to come to a point where someone's going to say, I don't want you to switch using vMix. I want to have a full desk and a full production workflow. So get hands-on with the stuff you've got here. Now, Dashboard is really important. Dashboard is a bit of software that Ross developed that glues all of the Ross equipment together. That means that if this laptop in front of me now was on the same equipment as all of that Ross equipment up at the back, I could actually control it standing here. I could cut the cameras, I could make replays, I could control the cameras, I could fire graphics. Dashboard is the most important thing, and I said this to the guys when I trained them 6 months ago when I first came here. If you learn Dashboard and use Dashboard, your productions become easier. This is the glue that holds every single Ross infrastructure together. And I'll show you a little bit how it works later on. This is the fancy bit, right? Because everyone likes big, fancy, glowing buttons. If there's one thing that sticks with people when I do training, it's always that the colors look good. So we've got a brand new TD2 panel up at the back that is magnificent. The colors are fully customizable. You can make some pink and blue or whatever you want. It's entirely up to you, but it's a really good desk to use. I've vision mixed on every single major vision desk probably out there. I still freelance most weekends, paying for a wedding, as you know. So every weekend I'm using something different. And I'm not saying this is a Ross employee to you guys, this is me being honest. I'm saying this is Brian, who's a vision mixer. This is the best desk I've ever used in terms of ease of use. If you don't want to take my word for it, there's a couple of guys at the back who've been using it for a few months. Ask them their opinion on it. I'm sure they'll give you honest ones. I hope. If not, I want my money back. There's a few key things you can do on here. It's called a touch drive because, believe it or not, they've made some parts of the screen touch dependent, which means you can touch the screen and change wipes and transitions and things. Again, I'm not going to go through this slide word for word. I'll just show it you in about an hour's time when we're doing the workflow demos. And again, the great thing about this is the touch drive has a touchscreen monitor attached to it with Dashboard on. So when you're sat operating the desk, you'll have Dashboard in front of you. And again, it's just an easier way of controlling the cameras and graphics and replay, etc. And there is a big fancy look at all of the different types of TD2, 1, and 3 panels. Does anyone want to have a guess why we've made them at different sizes or why we've made them with 2 and 3 rows instead of all having 1? Okay, I'll tell you. So remember when I was talking about MEs earlier on and how MEs are your layers? Essentially, that when you've got like a TD2 at the bottom there or a TD3, each individual color can be controlling a different ME on your desk. So think of it if you can control 3 different scenes at the same time in an OBS, right? Scene 1, scene 2, scene 3. And then whatever you do on the middle one is changing what's happening on scene 2. So you can just delegate different parts of the desk to different scenes in your guys' case. I'm trying to relate it back to OBS and talk that you'll understand. So if my terminology is wrong because I don't know OBS too well, please correct me. And again, more touch drive stuff. I'm not going to tell you how many buttons are on it and all the rest of it. I can send you pamphlets and all the rest of it if you want to entertain yourselves when you're bored. You can read through it all. But essentially, we'll go and press buttons on this later on. Ultrix. Anyone heard of an Ultrix? I'll be very surprised if anyone's heard of an Ultrix. So an Ultrix is our video routing system. Now, this is going to be very quick, but a video on Ultrix is this. Does anyone know what this could be doing in a production without me telling you anything? Go ahead. Correct. So everyone knows what a Wi-Fi router is, right? What does a Wi-Fi router do? No one uses Wi-Fi here. So a Wi-Fi router will get your internet signal from wherever you're getting it, turn it into a wireless system and send that wireless internet signal around your house or whatever, right? And you'll pick it up. It's exactly the same with a video router, but there's no Wi-Fi. It's just picking up all of your, like you said, camera feeds, graphics feeds, VT feeds. You know, if someone comes in now with a camera that they're plugged in outside and they want it in our production very quickly, we can't just plug it straight into the switcher. It has to go through a video routing system, which is what this is. The chances are you guys will never, ever need to play with this because it's generally for the engineers to mess around with and whatnot. But I just wanted to show you what that is because that, I think, is still behind us here in the system. But it's the entire brains of the operation. If that goes down, these screens go down, we might as well not go here and go home. So we actually launched a product called the Ultrix Carbonite, which combines an Ultrix and a Carbonite. Does anyone know why we would have done that? Why we would have mixed a Vision Mixer with a router? The reason is, and I'm just going to skip a few slides here and just explain what it is. So you can see here now, all we've done is that top blue part there is actually a blade. It's a Carbonite Vision Mixer that we've installed into a video router. And the reason we've done that is because we're quite big on carbon efficiency at Ross. So now, instead of having a big Carbonite Ultra and an Ultrix using twice the amount of power, we've combined them into one machine, so we're using less power, less resource, quite importantly, less space as well, because you'll find in some productions space is a big thing. And as you can see, if I just go back a slide, the Ultrixes can be quite big, right? If you've got a lot of sources and a lot of OB trucks, yes. Yeah. It's currently cheaper to still buy them both separately. And the reason for that is the Ultrix Carbonite is modular. So if I just skip a few slides again, there's a Carbonite blade, right? And again, we've got all the same stuff. I'm not going to bore you with all this. You can get it with big ones like that, right? So you can actually put multiple Vision Mixes in one Ultrix. So then you could have, if you've got 3 different galleries doing 3 different shows, you could have 3 blades in there. So that's why the price is still, so it's different. But essentially, you could have 3 galleries worth of production in one little bit of rack kit here. And again, this is just explaining it. The SDP blades are the Carbonite blades, and then you've got your I/O cards as the silver one. So in this one 6RU frame, we've actually got 4 different Vision Mixers connected. So we could have 4 galleries connected to the same bit of equipment. And that is why we've combined them. It's all due to space, power usage, and carbon efficiency. So that's that. We're going to get onto the replay side of things here. Anyone ever done any live replay in any productions, apart from James? Yeah? What's everyone used? vMix? vMix? Sorry? That's it. Okay, yeah. Great. So you've all got done replay. Replay is great. I love replay. I love doing replay when I'm doing freelancing because it's a really intense few hours of a shift. If it's going right. And I will say this, as replay operators, if you get into replays to a degree, if you have a director who, I'll be frank, is a bit of an arse, you're in for a long day. Because you've got to have things ready, like I said earlier on, as soon as they happen. And if you miss it or it's not ready and you've got a director screaming in your ear, he can make you feel that big. I've still got people now, I won't name names, but if I ever get booked on a freelance job, you usually get sent I don't know, a pre-production pack, right? A couple of days before, you'll get a call sheet. If I see a certain director's name on it, I cancel the job. I'm 34 years old. I don't need to be spoke to like that man speaks to people. So always value your self-respect, and that is, you know, in life in general, like never be spoke to like a piece of dirt for any sort of production. At the end of the day, it's live TV. That's what I always say. So this is our replay system. This is used in two different ways. We use this in venue, so we use this in stadiums, and we use it in broadcast. So why do people need replay? I mean, I've given you a few examples here, but why do we need to see replay in an esports event? Yep. So you don't miss any action. Exactly that. And let's face it, esport is end-to-end, right? Stuff can happen in a jiffy. I came here, I think it was December I came here and watched the, what event was it, Jin? The League of Legends event I was here for in December? Was it the Winter Finals, right? So I'll be honest, I love gaming. I'm just not a multiplayer gamer. I'm too old for that now. You know, I love a good single-player story game when the kids are in bed, and that's what I'll do. So I was surprised at how quick League of Legends, and again, if I butcher this, don't judge me, went from what I thought was not much happening to absolute carnage in a matter of seconds. And as a replay op, I think James was doing replay. You know, he had to be on the ball because, again, I was sat there not having a clue what was going on in the game. I was trying to understand the commentator's terminology right over my head, and then suddenly, boom, everything was dead. There was frags everywhere, and James was cutting replay. It's all about being prepared, right? And you're exactly right. We need replay because people miss it. And not only that, the most important part of replay, apart from that, is after the game's finished and you might cut back to your studio, what do we need to show? Highlights and analysis, right? What's the point of having two people sat up at the top here speaking about the footage if you can't show the footage that they're speaking about, right? Believe it or not, one of the things I worked for Blizzard on was as a replay operator. Can anyone imagine what game I was doing? And this is 2018. I was in California, replay operating for Blizzard for what game? Sorry? Overwatch. Any other guesses? Wow. Hearthstone. Why would you need replay for Hearthstone? Anyone? Player reactions. Purely player reactions, right? So when the Blizzard RNG comes and absolutely nails someone to the wall and they lose a game, generally it's the player reactions that get them, and that was what it was. I did do some work on the initial Overwatch League as well, but that was as a vision mixer. That's when I first met Phil, who did the talk earlier on. We met on the very first season of the Overwatch League, so which was good. I actually built the Blizzard Arena. I say built, I didn't lay the bricks and mortar, but the infrastructure at the Blizzard Arena in California, I was one of the engineers who helped design that building. So I've done a lot of work with Blizzard when they were a nice company. No judgment. So replay all comes down to how many cameras do you want to replay. Obviously, can anyone tell me the benefit and disadvantages of the amount of cameras for a replay operator? Yep. Yep. Too many cameras can be an absolute detriment to a replay operator. So usually what happens in large productions is you'd have multiple replay operators, because I find any more than 6 on the screen at one time, I can't physically see 6 different cameras at the same time and pick which one was the best angle to cut the replay to, right? So any more than 6, you're probably looking at a bit of trouble. Which is why, if I skip a few slides, you don't need to know about this. Yeah, we know it's replay. Where's my slides? There you go. Share the workload. The great thing about the ROS replay system is you can connect a second control surface up and just delegate. You're going to do replays today. I'm going to build the highlights packages. Split the work, right? Obviously, by that point, though, you need to pay a second operator. But on big productions, it can happen. And there's the control surface with a nice jog wheel. I remember when I showed James a few quick things when he was here. He was excited about a jog wheel because vMix Replay doesn't have a jog wheel, if I'm correct, right? Or if it does, it's got to be an external one that's what have you. This is a great and very simple to use bit of replay kit. And anyone who wants to go later on, come up at the back and I'll let you have a go at the system so you can have a play around in it. Just while I'm talking here, guys, you're all sort of looking at this. You've got this equipment at the back of the room. I'm not sure how you can book to use it or learn to use it, but one thing I will say, and I get onto this at the end, if you learn this equipment, you will have a job after university, which fundamentally everyone wants, right? No one wants to come and pay so much money and learn and spend so many years to then go sit back at home and not have a job. Use what you have at the back of this room and use the resources of Jin and the guys, Tom and Angie and even Alex. I know he's one of your lot, but you know, he's a staff member here. He spent the time to learn this stuff and he's now flying around the world doing whatever he wants when he's not texting me, asking me questions. But by all means, just please take the opportunity. I would have loved when I was at uni to have had this equipment here because I probably would have got to where I am now a lot quicker. And I'm not saying this again as a Ross employee. I'm saying this as someone who works in the industry. This is beyond industry standard equipment, what you're using here. If you put that you can learn, you've used a Ross Carbonite to direct shows or you've used Ross Mirror replay systems, you could go to a lot of places. I've got my business card here. I could email you to several people and say, hey, fresh students, just finished, just graduated, used Ross gear. Have you got any work for them? I turn down freelance work every single week because I work full time and then usually I have a few contracts at the weekend that I do anyway. Again, I'm not saying that to brag. It's just the reality of the situation, right? I want you guys to appreciate that there is work after this because of this equipment you could be using. This is just, again, showing you how the replay system works. The one thing you'll notice about the Ross control surface on the replay side of things, it's completely different in shape and stature to every other major replay manufacturer in the market. Does anyone know any other replay manufacturers? Yep. EVS. So EVS have 95% of the replay market in the world, right? They have got the lion's share. Do you want to know why EVS have the lion's share of the EVS market in the world? Every single major football, and I mean football as in soccer, has EVS in their trucks. It is the industry standard. So they have set the benchmark that if you do not use EVS, you don't have replay. The issue is everyone goes and learns EVS, right? No one goes and learns the Ross stuff or the other company stuff. And the benefit of that is if you learn this, we're now selling more and more and more of these around the world, right? Tottenham Hotspur, any football fans here? Yeah? Tottenham Hotspur, got one of these. Arsenal, any Arsenal fans? Arsenal fan. I don't like you at the minute, I'm a Man City fan. They've got one. Chelsea? No Chelsea fans, good. They've got one. Liverpool, just bought one, right? All of these football clubs now are buying our stuff. So again, I'll go back to my previous statement. If you want work, I can give you lots of work. I work at Liverpool pretty much every single weekend, right? I'm there in some capacity, whether I'm directing, whether I'm doing the replay system, or I'm down at the pitch doing tech support. Again, that's all because they use Ross equipment, and fundamentally I work for Ross. It's good to get me down there. What have we got here? This is just explaining how the Carbonite production switcher can actually mix in with the mirror. So what that means is I could have a replay queued up on one of my replay channels, and I can press a button on my vision mixing desk to cut to the channel that's showing the replay and automatically start rolling that replay, right? So you can imagine the benefit of that is it takes a lot of stress off the replay operator. All I have to do is have replays ready on X or Y or red and blue, whatever you want to call your replay channel. I'll mix to it on my desk. The replay starts playing. Again, dashboard, control. We've been on this. I won't go over this again. Expression. Expression is Ross's graphics platform. I'm not going to speak too much about it because I'm not a graphics designer. However, there's a few key things that you need to see. And this is just a sample of the customers who use Ross Expression graphics every single day on their productions. And here's some of the examples of their graphics that they actually use. So everything that you're seeing on screen here is a graphic of some sort that is being made and generated and controlled on the Expression system. Anyone interested in graphic design in here? Yeah? Okay. Ish. That'll change. You'll either like it or you won't. Give it a couple of years. It's a very, very, very specific role in a broadcast infrastructure. I know Expression enough that I can make a very, very quick lower third. Everyone knows what I mean by a lower third, right? Just a name strap or something. And I can bring it into TriCaster. TriCaster, that's my wrong company. Bring it into the Carbonite. That's because this morning, I'm going to tell a story now. My missus out there was like, I've really got to come and sit and listen to you talk about TriCasters for an hour. I've not worked for that company for nearly 4 years, so there we go. I can make a quick graphic and bring it into Carbonite very easily, but that's all I ever need to do, right? I don't want to know any more than that, but the stuff that these can do are incredible, and you can see, again, some more of the users of Expression. We're very, very big and popular, and again, all of these graphics you're seeing on the screen are all generated from Expression, so if you want to get into Expression, I'm not your guy, but I can certainly give you some people's contacts too if you want to learn more. The good thing about this is that's the GUI for the interface on the right-hand side and the left. The left is the designer part. The right-hand side is the sequencer. Now, the sequencer is great because it works like a playlist. You see the highlighted blue bar there? I double-click that and I play that graphic out. The great thing about this is because, again, I go back to dashboard and the control system, I can actually move one of the knobs on the Vision desk, on the physical control panel of the Vision Mixer, and I can move that blue bar and command the graphics to play from the Vision desk as well. So I'm sort of going back to where they said earlier on about the most important part of this production is the Vision desk. You're hopefully starting to understand why, because it can control everything. And here's dashboard. The great thing about dashboard is, if I just skip through here, you can actually make custom panels on dashboard. So you can make a really simple button that does something. But this here, what you're seeing, is a dashboard control panel built for Expression. So what I mean by that is this dashboard panel has been built by someone at Ross for an elections. Well, you can see the elections in 2018. And each of these individual buttons that you're seeing for the states on the right-hand side, when they press that button, it launches a command to the Expression system to fire a certain graphic. That's important because I could be controlling that stood here. I don't need someone sat in front of the actual graphics machine. I can be doing it from here. I can be doing it from home. Believe it or not, during the pandemic, I had a mini TV studio in my dining room. But outside of that, I could always log on to TeamViewer and control our studio just outside of London through dashboard. So it's a way of controlling all of our equipment. And again, I'll show you this later on. Here's just another couple of dashboard panels that you can see here, switcher control, camera control, the soft panel. Again, all this will make sense later on, but this is all customizable. The way I think of this is again, in OBS, when you're making certain buttons that do certain things, it's the exact same process, just on a broadcast level. So this is sort of an open sort of forum now, where I'm going to turn over to you guys and say, freelance or employment, for you guys, where should you go after uni? Has anyone got any ideas what they want to do, whether they want to pursue freelance, whether they want to go book staff? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So pros and cons of freelancing. Should we just have a little bit of a forum? What's the pros of freelancing? Flexible. Yeah. Massively. Yeah. Get paid a lot more. Debatable, but we'll come back to that. Any other pros of freelancing? Yeah. Travel. Working in your own terms. Yeah. Downsides of freelancing. Yeah. No stable job. Taxes. Okay, so I'll give you some pros and cons that I've experienced, right? Pros are I can pick up as much or as little work as I want, right? However, in them dry spells, what do you do then? Right? You've got to be very, 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 very money safe to be able to jump into a freelance world. You guys are probably all going to be living with parents or not have, I say, life bills and etc. You're not going to have mortgages probably when you leave uni, so you might have a little bit more flexibility. But sometimes you might find that you go 2 weeks without any work. And you're sat there, you're still eating food, you're still using your electricity, your gas, all the rest of it. What do? You just got to pray, right? You just got to hope. I'm fortunate enough now that I could ring a lot of people and probably say, hey, I'm free tomorrow. Have you got any work? And I'd probably find it. But that's took me 13 years nearly to get to that point. Other negatives, you mentioned you get paid a lot more. And this is sort of relevant, is sometimes you don't get paid on time. right? You generally send an invoice and you say, hey, I've done an invoice, I work for you on this day, please pay within 30 days. Do you always get paid in them 30 days? Absolutely not. Sometimes you're emailing someone who will then pass it on to their accounts team, who will then pass it to someone else, and you've not been paid a week later. And you can go down a slippery slope where you have to end up taking someone to small claims court, and it gets really daft and silly. With employment, you don't get that, right? Employment, you get a monthly paycheck just in your bank. Your taxes are sorted. Taxes was a really good one because people oversight that. And this is important for anyone who is freelancing. The tax man will find out. Whether you like it or not, they will find out, and you'll get a nice big tax bill if you don't declare it. So, again, that's the benefit. Any other pros and cons? Anyone think freelancing? Yeah? Hard to have a stable life because you've always got to chase the work, right? Yeah, you can't turn down a job because I might never get booked again. It's true. Yeah, go on. Yeah, so that's a very good one. Freelancing is perfect for turning up and using equipment you've never used. That is also a negative. And the reason for that is if you're booked to go and do camera ops on a show, you're going to turn up to that show and never have used that camera before, but you didn't know that. But they don't care. They booked you to be a camera op. So bear that in mind as well, because that is scary when you turn up somewhere and don't actually know how to do the equipment, because it's either you're going to sink or swim. You're going to either manage it or you're going to fail. What happens if you fail? You don't get hired again. You generally will get paid for your work, but you won't get hired again. You only get one shot, and that's just the unfortunate industry we live in because it's live TV. If it's pre-taped stuff, you can just, we'll just roll it again and do another cut. We work in live broadcast, right? So just bear that in mind. I would, listen, I've got 2 kids and getting married and all the rest of it. If I wanted to and go full-time freelance, I probably would, because I can just say I don't want to work today. I want to go out with the kids. But at the same time, what happens if I do have one of them dry spells and we've got bills to pay and kids to feed? I like the security of having a full-time job, right? So there's things to weigh. There's pros and cons to both, and there's no right or wrong answer. And I'm not going to tell you there's a right or wrong. I've done both in the industry at various times. I'm very happy now that I'm full-time employed and I've got a great job. I still get to travel. You know, I get my weekends every weekend, which is big when you get to my age and you want to go out and see friends or go out with the kids and stuff. It's great. There's no right or wrong answer. But don't think that freelance is the definitive answer. It certainly can be. The one other thing I want to say to you guys as students, and I just said this in my interview this morning, how many people here are doing work experience for anyone in any capacity at the minute? Whether it's just helping set up something or start, right? No one. Yeah, you are? Ish? Yeah? You getting paid for it? Yeah? How many hours have you done? Yeah? I always say this, right? Time is money. Experience, not exploitation. And this is so important. If you're going to take anything away from today, it's this. If anyone ever asks you to come and help out and do something for experience, do it. Get the experience. If they ask you to do it again, that's not experience, that's exploitation. I was a student like you guys at one point, and the amount of free work that I did in my time at uni was ridiculous. I was driving up and down the country setting up cameras at football stadiums and not getting a penny, right? I was on my own back paying for fuel and food and all the rest of it. And at the time I was like, yeah, it's great, it's experience, it's experience. It's only when I've got to my position now, when I bring in young students like yourselves to do whatever it is, I make sure they're getting paid because I'm not exploiting people. And some people do, unfortunately, do that in this industry. They'll see you as free help. You're keen, and you should all be keen to learn and do stuff for free of charge. Do it once, don't do it twice. If you're doing it twice, say, yeah, I'll happily help you out, but are we going to talk about my day rate? Right? My final thing on this, and this is big for all of you, is do not underestimate how much your time is worth. If someone says, hey, I need a cameraman for a 10-hour shoot today, I need a replay operator for a 10-hour day, I'm going to pay you £100, do not say yes. That is not the going rate for a replay operator or a cameraman or anything. You can do your own research and find out what the going rate is, but all you're doing there is lowering the value of your time. And by default, lowering the value of everyone else's time who comes after you as well, because you did it for X amount, that person should do it. Yeah. There's a few good Facebook groups for freelancers in the broadcast world, especially UK-based ones. I'm in them. Go and join them, and you can generally gauge what the day is. I'm not going to tell you what my day rate is, because my day rate is probably going to be a bit different than you guys for what I do. But it's considerably more than £100 a day. Yeah, check Facebook, speak to other operators. LinkedIn, is everyone here on LinkedIn yet? Yeah? Does anyone here actively use the LinkedIn yet? Start using LinkedIn. LinkedIn is the Facebook of the broadcast world, right? And one thing I will say, it's a very, very, very small industry. You will meet people once and meet them again 3 years later and go, hey, I worked with you on that shoot. How's it going? That's a good way of networking and figuring out and all the rest of it. Yeah. Question? Yeah? No? I've lights in my eyes. I just saw a hand go. Did you have a question? Mm-hmm. If you're happy with that, then great. I think you're undercutting yourself again. But hey, if you're happy with that, so be it, right? I mean, again, and this is the thing. If you're happy with that, that's all that matters. If you're happy with £200, you're happy with £200. I wouldn't be happy with £100, and that's what I see happen quite often. I'm in some freelance groups on Facebook as well, where people post, oh, I need an X operator or a camera operator or this and that. We're paying £100 for the day, and they get absolutely chastised by every other member of the group because they're looking for cheap labor. The unfortunate thing is you always have someone saying, I've just PM'd you, which means someone's going to take that job on that small amount of money, which again is back to my original point, is bringing the value of every other person in the industry down. So just know your own self-worth, and please do not get exploited. Don't work for free. You're all worth more than that. You're spending money to be here and learn, right? Get experience, but do not get exploited, because there is so many people out there who do it. Any questions about anything today that I've just been through? I know I sort of glossed through the equipment side of it, but the reason for that is I'm going to stop talking a minute, have 5 minutes to have a drink, and I'm just going to show you the equipment because it's easier. One thing I will say is I've got business cards here that I'm going to leave, or you can take one. If you have any questions after this about the working world, the industry, or the equipment, drop me a text, drop me an email, speak to me after this, right? You know, the guys all at the back here have all got my phone number for when I've last here. They text me, I wouldn't say quite often, unless you're Alex. But I'm picking on him because he's not here. It's great. But no, please keep in touch. You know, I'd like to think that in some ways I don't see myself as too much older as most of you, even though I'm 33. I'd say we're in the same sort of generation. So our generation is going to carry this industry for the next 60, 70 years. No offense to anyone older than me in this room. I can see lots of angry eyes looking at me. But genuinely, like, use me as a resource, right? If you've got questions about anything, I'm always around. I love the guys here at Confetti. It's a great infrastructure. You've been good to Ross, having all our equipment here. So anything we can do to give back, we're going to give back. So if there's no questions, I think we should just take a quick 5-10 minute break while you guys go to the bathroom, whatever, and then I'm going to get all the equipment set up, and we'll have a bit of a masterclass. Okay, guys. Cheers. Thank you.
Testing, 1, 2, 1, 2. 1, 2, testing, testing. 1, 2. Is that good? Can everyone hear me? Yeah? Thumbs up if everyone can hear me from the back. Okay. I think we're good to go. So this is quite surreal that you're all sat in front of me and I'm sat at the back of the room now, but here we are. And I'm sat in front of the TouchDrive TD2 panel. As you can see, my hands are here. Oh, there I am. Thank you very much, Andrew, for being my assistant director there. And this is our top of the range production desk that you've got here in Confetti. I'll just go through the desk as a whole. I'm going to ask questions, so I can't see hands going up, so just shout out answers if you know the answer. Bottom row here, does anyone know what the bottom row of buttons that my finger going across is doing now? Does anyone know what this controls? Correct. Well, the second one is program. So if I cut anything up on the second row of buttons here, that is program. The bottom row is preview. So you can see now when I'm changing this, it's now showing me my preview. Does everyone understand the concept of preview and program and what happens between the two? Yeah? So those that don't, I'll just do a very basic demonstration. Is anything that's on preview, so currently it's myself now, I can now do two things. If I want to transition to what's on my preview, I can either come over to the right-hand side of the desk over here. Sorry for the lighting, but it's just here where my hands are. We've got a cut button, which will cut between the two sources, as you're seeing. I've got a, there you go, thanks, Andrew.
It's done nothing, has it?
No, nothing at all. Well, it's worth a try. So I can cut, or there's an auto button, which will do an auto transition, so it'll do a fade between the others. Does anyone have any other ideas of how I can transition between two sources? And you can't see it because of the light, but there's a T-bar just here. I can ride, and you can just move the T-bar, and that also does an auto fade. So that is them buttons here. You can see that each individual source has its own name, so I know what I'm cutting to. These buttons can be fully configurable, so I can change the name, the colors. I can make it really easy. So I personally, when I'm directing anything, I would have all of my cameras be a certain color, because there's a good chance if I'm doing a major production, I'm not actually going to be sat looking at the screen too much. I'm going to have a director behind me who's just telling me what to press. So I would have all my cameras be one color. Oh, thank you. You can, yeah. I think it's blinding me more than anything, but we tried. Thank you, though. I would have all of my cameras be a certain colour. I would have my graphics be another colour. I would have my replay be another colour, which we've got over this side. You can see there's a few different things here for stills and whatnot. And that's just so that if I've got my head down and I'm punching buttons, I'll be able to quickly understand what's going on. The row above here is quite an interesting row of buttons. Just do that so you can see it both sides. These dark blue ones at the minute. These dark blue buttons are user configurable. So currently, if you can just about see that, it currently says key number 6. So if I just quickly change this to be key number 1, what this is saying now is which of these sources here do you want, which of these inputs do you want to be the source for a key? Does everyone remember what a key is, what I explained the key is earlier on? Right? What do I want the layer to be? Right? So for example, let's say I've got my gameplay footage on Lectern. So you can see here there's some gameplay footage. What game's this? Valorant, thank you. That's me showing my lack of game knowledge again, but we've got some Valorant footage here. But actually, what we will actually do is want to build a picture-in-picture on my top of my overhead camera. So to do that, I'm going to select key number 1, and it's got key number 1 here now, and I need to select the source. So I want the source to be my Lectern, because you can clearly see that for some reason, I think it's just our naming, that the Lectern source is on there. Or we'll do replay B actually. We'll do replay B. So I'll select replay B because you guys can see that. And now currently, I need to select to be a DVE, and I want to cut it off there. So when I press cut and I bring my key layer on, it goes full frame. Does everyone understand why that's happening? Because these are layers, right? Remember I explained earlier, these are just different layers in your Photoshop or OBS. So there's my background layer, which is me and my hands, and that's my main thing, and I'm cutting on top another layer. But obviously we're never going to cut it across full frame because frankly it looks ridiculous. So what I can do then is simply up at the top of my desk, if I just go here on the preview, Up at the top up here, there's a joystick that you can't really see because of the light, but we'll get there when you come up and have a look later on. So what I'm going to do is cut this on air and use my joystick now, and hopefully you can see that now I've made a nice little picture-in-picture, very simple. So now if my replay operator who's talking next to me can just scrub back on B, do B, or A, yeah, that one, A actually is fine. Yeah, if you just scrub back, you can see there now that he's moving back and I've got a nice little picture-in-picture going on top of whatever I need to go up. So that's a really quick way of doing a picture-in-picture, really simple. So that is with a DVE key. Now, when you come up and have a look at the desk later on, you'll notice there's different type of keys. DVE stands for Digital Video Effect. It's essentially manipulating a video to be of a different size or stature. So we're wanting to take our key layer here, and we're digitally editing it and making it smaller, so it's a DVE key. Okay, everyone understand that? Good. So I'm just going to reset that key. And the reason for that is we've got another type of key. Do you remember earlier on I was talking about graphics and how graphics can be brought in your production? So the way that is done is on the graphics system. So Andrew is now sat next to me and has a graphic, but he's not going to fire it just yet because there's something I need to do. I need to select the key. And I don't actually want it to be a DVE key because we're not actually going to manipulate the video of a graphic, right? It makes no sense. We're going to make it an auto key. And the reason why it's an auto key is we're going to take the key and fill of a source. Does everyone know what key and fill is? Yeah, we're going to take the key and fill of a source and we're going to manipulate it so that it only shows the full frame graphic. So now I've selected this to be an auto key and we're on graphics 1. If I just cut that off there. So now when I go back to my overhead shot, and as soon as I hit cut here, nothing happens. The reason nothing happens is my graphics op's not fired a graphic, but if he does, there's my graphic on the screen. And the great thing about the Expression graphics system is all of them stats that were on the graphic there can be manipulated and changed according to the game. So in an esports environment, let's say I've just made a good frag and the camera's on me, there you go, boom. Was frag the right term? Am I doing good with my esports speak?
I'm not a gamer.
Yeah? Okay, good. Please, thank you. I appreciate that. Just if I'm going way off course, then tell me I'm wrong. So yeah, so once again, because I've got it set to an auto key, there you go, there's another one. But the great thing about this is you're not limited to one key. Remember earlier on I said you've got 6 available keys? I can actually come over here, go back to my replay event, cut this on there, make this smaller, and suddenly we're going to get a bit wild. So now I've got my picture-in-picture of the game that's just happened. I've just made a frag, and my graphics op's now going to come over here. And does anyone know why my DVE is over my graphic there? So if you do that again, Andrew? Because you wouldn't want that on a broadcast, right? Does anyone know why that's happening? Exactly. So anyone who's ever used Photoshop, right, it's all about how you manage your layers. If your layers are set up wrong, it will be wrong. So the easy way of doing that is just doing this, right? So if I swap this to this, swap this to this, do this to this, and I'm just doing lots of this to this, is it, right? If I now cut this off, do the exact same thing again, but now get you to do the graphic. And that's because I've relayed the keys, right? And again, you can go crazy with this. You can have, oh, I've just copied that the wrong way around. DVE, replay B, cut you on air, make you smaller, have you up there. I can copy and paste that. I've done it the wrong way around again. It's the copy and paste curse. Select, put you up there. Have one gameplay feed. Have another gameplay feed here. Over there, just change that source to be something else. Let's have a, I don't know, yeah, you go, audience cam, the wide shot. I can make another one. Same principle, just changing the source. We'll do the overhead cam. So now suddenly you can see I'm just making layers and layers and layers, right? And I can still then also fire a graphic off as well onto the other side. So you can get really quite in depth. Now all of these look horrible and I would never use them in a production. We can get a little bit fancy. So all I'm going to do is I'm just going to load a still, and hopefully we've got a still in here somewhere, right? Yeah, that'll do. If I just load you in there. Oh, no, wrong one. So you guys can't see this, but using dashboard now, I'm just sending commands to this to load some stills. So cut you all off. There's a still, the lovely blue still that I've just made. So now if I wanted to turn this into a proper production, right, here's what I'd do, is I would make one key with my camera so we can see me, and we'll put that there. But then just to make it a little bit more presentable in a production, right, what we can do is then actually manipulate this, this key. So currently it's just picture in picture, but what I can then do is actually say I want a border on this key. So you can see now I'm adding a border, turn the border on. You can see now, looks horrible, right? Too big. Come down, change the colour of it, we'll do a nice red, make it nice. And then my favourite thing to do with an esports thing is just give it a bit of perspective, so you're manipulating it so it looks slightly 3D, right? Make that a tad bit smaller. There we go. And then what I'm going to do, I'm just copy and paste that, cut it on air again, move it across to here. And then all I'm going to do is change the source to be the replay. So this is my gameplay. I want to swap the perspective around. Oh, that's the right one. Swap it to key 2. Panel link on, that's why. And then border, change my perspective again. So it goes the other way. And you can see now, if you get a graphic and we fire a graphic up on on graphic 1, you can sort of see now if I just change these, because them graphics are preset in size, if I just move them up slightly and then we fire the graphic again, you can see how we've got now a little mock esport event, right? So let's say in this game of Valorant, my replay op's ready on my right. So if you just clip me something up, please, James. Doesn't matter what it is, just for the okay, so are you ready there? Yeah. So on the right hand side there, James has got the replay event, which is now shown on that screen. You can see he's cutting it on the right hand side. So let's say a big frag's just happened and I'm saying I want a replay. I can cut to this little 2-shot. So you can start the replay. So there's my replay of whatever's just happened, and then the graphic can come in with all the stats. So you can just sort of start seeing how you can start building all this sort of production, right? And that's just within a little event like this. Now where this gets really clever is I've got a 2-box here, and what I can then do is actually save this as a preset, so like a snapshot. At Ross we call them memories. So I can come into my memory and just, again you can't see this, but I'll show you when you come up here. I'll just find an empty spot to put a memory. 53, let's do it as 53. And I want to save ME1, all media, go to my, I'm on MEPP actually, aren't I? Yeah, all MEs, all my keys, good. Save, store. So I've saved that. So then what I can do is take this and let's say I just reverse it to here and over here, and we'll change this one to be here and over here, like so. And then I also want to change the perspective on key 2 so it looks correct. So we want it that way, and on key 1 we want it to be that way. So we've just made a very quick change, right? If I now go back to my memories and save this on 54. So now what I can do is when I go to recall this, and you can see this now that when I hit 53, it cuts back, right? Everyone can see that. I can transition between the 2 snapshots. But then to get really fancy, what you can actually do is say, actually, I want to transition between them 2. So you can do something like this. We'll do 60 frames. Let's make it nice and slow. You see it transition through. Make it even slower. Go back to how it was. And you can sort of start, and again, you can have as many of these memories as you want, so you can have all of these presets ready to go. And obviously the difference I'm doing here is I'm building this all on my main program out, which means you guys can see all of this happening. I wouldn't do this in a live broadcast. Why wouldn't you do this in a live broadcast?
You don't want the audience seeing
the build stage, right? You don't want the audience seeing the build stage, absolutely correct. So what I would do is I would do all this on your other MEs. So going back to my overhead shot now, do you remember earlier on I said how different parts of the desk can do different things, right? So what I can do is come up to the top part of the desk and say, well, actually this is controlling Mini ME1. And you can see now it's changed to this yellow color. So if I now just go to my multi-viewers and change this so you can see it, you don't need to see this one. So if I just do this, Mini ME1. So that bottom left-hand box now on your multi-viewer, you can see how it says Mini ME1. you'll notice now that when I'm pressing things up here, it's changing that bottom left-hand box on your screen. Can you all see that? Yeah. That's because whatever I'm controlling up here is controlling Mini ME1. Yeah, does that make sense to everyone? Yeah. Good. So now what I can do is the same thing I've just done, which is essentially on Mini ME1, I'm going to select it as a DVE key with the Brian Cam as the source, cut that on there, make it a bit smaller. Again, I'm not going to go into making borders and everything, we've seen that. Cut you on there, select again, over here, change that to be a replay event. So now, on my main program out, I can be cutting between myself and different cameras in the facility. And when I need to go to that 2-shot, where do I need to cut to on my desk? If I want everyone else to see the little 2-box I've just made, what do I need to put onto the production? Mini ME1, exactly that. So right here on my desk is Mini ME1. So now when I'm cutting between things, and I can say, actually, I'm going to put that in preview, and it's there on preview, and then I can hit auto, and there you go, Mini ME1 is on air. You can tell it's on air because a big what has appeared around Mini ME1. Big red box. Red means live. That's just broadcast 101, guys. If there's a red box around something, do not mess with it. It's live on air. So that is how I would do it. And that is the great thing about this desk, is that that is how to quickly make a 2-box in a production. And the reason for that is now, on my main show, I've got 6 keys here still available. So if you want to sort of get into like inception levels of keying and whatnot, I can actually select one of my DVE keys on my main program row to actually be Mini ME1. So I can cut that on air, and you can see now I've got 2 boxes within a box. So I've got a box within a box within a 2-box. You're never going to use that. It's sort of inception levels of, I've had a dream and a dream and a dream. But this is just the levels you can get to. And again, the same principle stands that if I have a graphic come in now from my lovely graphics operator, there you go. So I've got graphics on graphics on graphics. Does that all make sense, guys? Yeah? After I finish talking later on, you guys can come up here and try and do this. It's not a problem. That's what we're here for today. But that's just a very quick way of navigating around the system. And obviously, the point I made earlier is that all of these 2 boxes and things will be built before the show or during the show, but just so that people can't see them. But for the purposes of today, I'm just demonstrating them so you can see it happen as we go. And like I say, you can have 6 key layers on an ME. So you've got lots of resources available to you. So obviously, we've then got a few other things. Memories are over here on this part of the desk, our keying area. And then we've got wipes. So by wipes, does anyone know what I mean by wipe? Transition? Yeah? So a transition, just a fade, right? That's a transition or a wipe. So that is a basic dissolve. We've got a whole heap. If I hit the wipe button, and the reason this is called a touch drive is over on this part of the screen up here, I can now touch it and scroll through all of these other wipes. I'll be completely honest with you, unless you're Alex, and we had a big argument about this when I trained Alex, you will only ever generally use in a production a dissolve, a cut, or an animated wipe. But Alex is adamant that he's going to try and one day use something like this in a production, right? We had a good long debate about it over dinner. It was quite impressive how adamant he was. Yeah, exactly. So the great thing about this is currently you can see that I'm actually just keying between preview and program, right? We've established that, preview and program. But what I can actually do is above that, we've got key 1, key 2, key 3. If I do key 1 and select that, I'm now transitioning key 1 on and off. Make sense? But then what you can do is you can say, oh, actually, I want key 1 and the background to transition. So now it does both at the same time. Again, you can get really in-depth with this. But generally, you're never going to use anything in this thing. I like to call it, if I'm being completely honest, trade show fodder. So it's when we do our big broadcast conventions where we're trying to sell lots of products. You guys will walk past and I'll make a nice fancy transition. You'll go, oh, that looks good. I'm going to go and look at what they're doing. After that, you're never going to use this stuff. And that is just the truth.
Unless you're Alex Carter.
Unless you're Alex who wants to try and prove a point, yeah. So we've also got digital video effect transitions, and this is more of the same, right? So there's a few fancy things on here. Where's the weight one? Stuff like this, where it's going to fly in and out. Again, I very, very, very rarely use this stuff, but I think Alex is still adamant he's going to send me a video of him doing it on a product one day, which is yet to happen. But the big one on here, and the reason I'm telling you this, is a button here called Media Wipe. Now, Media Wipe is very important. Does anyone know what a Media Wipe is?
Transition, but also bring media on.
You're half right, because that's what I would have said it is. What a media wipe is it means it's going to take whatever you've got in your media store. So we can bring in PNG sequences or TGA sequences from Premiere and whatnot, and actually bring that in as a transition. So to demonstrate, I'm just going to, on my screen here, go to my media tab. I've got that loaded in 4, which is good. Number 24. Go here. 24. Here we go. So now I'm going to load in the wipe. So now what I can do is when I hit auto, that was a media wipe. So that is one that I think you used in the Newell, Newell, Jesus. Jesus, bro.
That's better.
Sorry, I just offended half the people in the room, I do apologise. But yeah, so when I'm transitioning between this is a media wipe. And what the media wipe is doing is it's using, remember when I said earlier on about how you've got still stores and media stores? All I've done is load in a sequence of PNGs into one of them still stores, and it's being used as my replay. It can be things like that. It can be things, I'm just loading in some others while we're talking here, but we'll come back to that in just a second. So there's a variety of different wipes you can use, but the media wipe one is great because that's where you can have your own brand's logo, your events. That one that we were just demonstrating then, the replay one, was used in the Newell Championships. And the great thing about that is that was a replay wipe. So essentially what would happen is in the main show, I'd be cutting. So if I just load this in here again. So what would happen, I'd be in my main show, right? And I'm cutting cameras, things are happening, I've got the game footage on. And then all that would happen is my replay operator would say, the replay is ready. So I'd go, okay, where are we? We're on A or B?
We're on A.
We're on A. There we go. So he's got, yeah, we're on A. So you can see in my preview, right? That's my, everyone can see preview there? That's my replay footage ready to go. So there's something that's just happened. He'd say replay ready. I'd hit this transition, I'd say roll replay, and he starts playing the replay. So it does the transition behind it, right? So that's where the communication between the director and the replay operator is really key. And then when I've seen enough, I'll say, okay, I've seen enough, and I cut back off it, so it comes off the replay, and we're back to our main production. That is where transitions are really good, and media transitions in particular, because obviously it enables you to get a bit of corporate branding in there. It looks professional because it's what professionals use, and it enables you to actually start running that replay while the transition's happening so that the viewer is not seeing it. Because if you just queue up another replay, right? So he's ready, I could just be like, okay, it's on screen, run it, right? Why would you want to do that when you could actually go, right, replay's ready?
Ready.
He's ready, I transition, roll replay. And we're in the event. Look, there's the replay happening. What looks better? And this is how, when you start doing your productions, when you're on your course and whatnot, this is how it should be. You need to have a good level of communication between me, the VT op, the graphics op, because obviously the graphics op's the one who's going to be doing all the data, the league tables, event names, whatever, right? There's got to be that level of communication. If you don't ask for something my advice to anyone who wants to be a director, if you do not ask if it's ready and expect that it's ready and it's not, and something goes wrong, it is on you. You have to have that communication. Is the replay ready? Yes or no. If it's not ready, you stay on whatever shot you're on and you wait for it to be ready. Same for the graphics. Is the graphics ready? Yes or no. If there's a no and you still put him on air, that is on you. Okay? So please bear that in mind. And the other thing is, obviously, like I said earlier on, just speak to people with a bit of respect. It's live TV. It can be stressful, but you've just got to have a level of respect, because if you start getting chirpy or aggressive or rude, the replay op's never going to work for you then, and fundamentally it's not going to make him work any better if he thinks you're a bit of an arse, right? If anything, he's probably just going to try and sabotage you a little bit more. Not that I've ever done that, but I'm just saying it can happen. So just bear that in mind. So again, once again, I'll just show you that so we can see it. We can go to one of the events here, okay, and replay ready. He says ready, that we run it. And all that's happening is, well, oh, I've made a mistake there, that's me. There it is. Sorry, that was my mistake. No one said anything. It happens. Like I say, it's live TV. So replay ready?
Ready.
So it's there, it's on my preview. I run my transition, roll the replay, and there you go. Just looks visually better, right? And I can guarantee you'll go home tonight and watch some sport or watch a major esport event. You will see media transitions being used all of the time. Anyone who watches any sort of sport on Sky Sports and a goal goes in, you will see a transition. You'll see so many of these, and you'll notice them as you start understanding more, them being used more and more and more. Thank you, Andrew. Appreciate that. I've actually just loaded in a second one, just to show you another one. This is like a Ross-based one, right? But that's another one. You can do all sorts of funky stuff. Excuse me. And all they are is media transitions, right? That's all they are. The PNG sequence. Anyone here use Adobe Premiere or After Effects? Yeah? You could probably make me a PNG sequence, right? Do some funky fresh. Yeah. Bring it in. Put it on the desk. Use it. Use it in your own productions. Jim will give you more marks. You told me before. So... So yeah, PNG sequences, you're good to go. Now to go one step further, you'll notice that when I'm loading anything in, I'm pressing several buttons, right? I might have to go to a certain camera, change to a certain thing. What we can do on the Ross desk is we can create macros. Everyone's familiar with macros, right? I know there's a lot of WoW players in here who use macros, right? So we're all familiar with what it is. So sum up what a macro is, it's pressing one button to run a series of events. That is what a macro is. So what we can then do is, you guys can't see me doing this, but I'm just going to build a quick custom control, which is what Ross call macros. And all I'm going to do in this custom control, I'm going to hit the record button. And now I'm going to say, I want to make a button that when I press it, it puts my replay channel into preview, it loads my media wipe for me, and then runs the media wipe. So essentially, every time I want to run a replay, I can press one button instead of 5 or 6. Because I'm a director, I'm lazy and I want to make my job easier, right? So what we can do is, in this macro, the first thing I need to do is put replay B, if I just put this on preview. Sorry, not replay B, overhead B, there we go. So I want overhead B, so you guys can see. I want to put replay B on preview, and then want to make sure I'm loading the correct media wipe. So I want to load media 2 into my media wipe, select it to be a media wipe on here, and then I want to run an auto transition. So if I go back to that and go back to my, and again, I appreciate you guys can't see me doing this on my screen, but I'll explain it when you guys come up. If I just delete that event and delete that event. So that's all good. So essentially now what's going to happen, I'm just going to insert a pause there so we can see it. Insert one there. Insert one there. And then I need to add a, transmedia. Yep, we're good to go. So now I've made this on a button, and this is on 405. I can go to my CC bank, bank 4. Excuse me. So now I've made these buttons here now, these white buttons, are now pointing at my custom controls. So when I run this CCO 405 button now, it works, which is good to see. So what happens is, there's 4 things that happen here, right? So if I go back to this, when I press this CC405 button, it's going to send a command to the desk to put my replay channel in my preview. It's going to load the right media wipe, the replay wipe, and then it's going to run the wipe. So essentially, when something happens in my production now, so I'm cutting cameras, it's a fast-paced thing, something's happened in my game, I can say, is replay ready?
Ready.
He says it's ready. I can now hit this one button on my desk and watch what happens. Everyone see what happened then? Mm-hmm. I'm programming the desk to do what I want. So now I don't have to worry about, oh, well, what if I've got, you know, one of Alex's daft wipes loaded that I was playing around with earlier because he wants to prove a point. That takes it away, because that button just resets it to what I want to do. I want to load this wipe, I want to run it, and I want to roll my replay. So you can make your job as a director easier, because sometimes this can be stressful as it is. I've got two multi-viewers in front of me. You can only see one on the screen. I've got to try and keep my eyes across all of the cameras. I'm speaking to the cam op, the replay op, the sound guy, the producers tell me the guests are running late. One of the hosts needs to go for the toilet. This is all stuff that can happen, so I don't have to worry now about, well, oh God, I've got to get a replay wipe done. It's already done for me. And you can build as many of these macros as you want, right? That's just a really simple one that I use all of the time. Because that way now I know, no matter what happens, if I need to go to a replay, I've got a button on my desk that goes to replay for me. Everyone's happy. Any questions about anything, guys? Is everyone going to come and have a go at this in a minute? Yep, question.
Can you queue multiple like macros back to back?
Yes.
So, like you can have it like media white in the replay and media white back out.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. You can add pause commands in there, stop commands in macros. You can get really crazy with them. Here's a fun story for you. CNBC News in America do a 5-minute weather bulletin every day at 10:55 at night. Historically, they used to have a sound man, a replay guy, a VT guy, a graphics guy, a director, and a couple of camera ops. They decided during the pandemic, when everyone had to strip down on this stuff, they needed to stop that. So they built one macro that runs an entire 5-minute bulletin for them. And single-handedly saved lots of money by making people not need to come back to work for that show. I'm not sure I'm fully on board with it, but that's just how powerful you can go with macros if you want. Because that 5-minute weather show was the exact same every day, apart from the only thing that changed was the images, right? So essentially, once they built the macro that we start on this camera, after 35 seconds we load this camera and we bring this graphic in, which is the name strap. Once you go through it meticulous, that one, thank you. Go through it like that. It's exactly the same every time. It's just a case of changing a few things, and that's what he did. So that's the power of macros if you really want to get into them. Again, this will make more sense because when I stop talking, I want you guys to come up and sit in front of it. Andrew's just offered, even though he didn't know, to help me talk to you guys about certain things on the desk. But I'm going to jump over now. And is there any way we can move that camera slightly so we can show? James, you can stay there. You can do it. James is going to be my guinea pig here. I'm going to pick on him because he's had a little bit of training with me in the past and actually used this in an event. And is there just a way we can get the mirror UI into the production?
We've got desktop feed.
Desktop feeders, yep, correct, quite right. So, can everyone see that now on program? If,
Really see what's going on.
on the control panel.
UI,
Yeah, if we can just try, if it might help, yeah, just so we can get a bit of light on James here, on his hands, because at the minute he can't see anything. Yeah, that's a little bit better. So ignore the fact it's a little bit skew width. So why don't I do this actually? So let me do this. So, James, are you feeling the pressure?
Not at all.
Good answer. So I'm just going to do this so the guys can see it, and hopefully they'll be able to see both overhead. And this is the power of the desk now, guys. Is I'll just make this a little bit bigger. Say now we don't need to see this one too much. We'll do that over here. Select you to be, which feed is it? Desktop. Put that one on. Is that right? Desktop feed? No, desktop FS. Let's do this. Okay. Yeah. So just a bit of tech going on here, guys. Desktop. There you go. So if I just make this a little bit smaller now, and what I'll do is I'll just drop the camera over the top. It's a little bit dark. If there's anything we can do on the control surface.
It's not wide up for that.
Yeah, I know.
That'd be too useful.
Well, we can show you the GUI, right? It's fine. We'll show you what's happening in the GUI, which is the more important thing, and then we can come up and just get hands-on with it, guys. So in front is the replay GUI. Now we've set this up just as a really simple 2-in, 2-out system. Traditionally, what would happen here is you would see, I'll tell you what, let's do this. Configuration. I'll change that to be program. Is that better for you guys? Yeah? Okay. So this is the main replay GUI that James is working with. This can be up to 10 cameras. It can do 10 in, 2 out. But like I said earlier on, anything more than 6, I sort of start getting a little bit overwhelmed. And the way this works and replay works in general is you need to create clips, right? You need to create an in point and an out point and save that clip. And it's very simple. Now, we're using the same source on 2 cameras here, so don't get confused by that. If this was an actual production, if it was an esports event, this would be your Observer, is that right? The Observer PCs, so that's the way you'd get the feeds in. And then I imagine the other feeds that you'd probably have in here is player cams, player reactions and stuff, right? So let's just imagine that was the workflow. So what James can actually do now is actually just start clipping up things. So there's 2 ways of clipping up things. You can either press the in button, if you hit in, and you'll notice there it gives him a little bit of time code just below the red square. You see where it says in? That's telling us the time code that he's put as the in point, the start point of his clip. You can then hit the out point, and there's the out point, and then he can save the clip. And it saves it into the clip there. Can you see where it's saved now? It says untitled. Yep, so then what James can do is, let's say that was a frag, and you want to name that clip. What do you do, James? Can you remember? There's no names in there, it's all the keyboard.
Okay.
So all you have to do, nice and simple.
I call them kills.
You call them kills. So you see he's just labelled that kill. So he's just named that clip. And you'll notice when he saves his clip, it saves both angles. So it's not just the one that he's looking at. And it's nice and simple to use. If you want to load the clip now, how do you load the clip? So he loads it in. It's in channel A, and you've got A and B, or red and blue, gold and silver. Different companies call them different things, but you have 2 channels of replay out. And then all he has to do is start playing that clip with the play button, and he's now playing that clip out on the left-hand side, and he can ride the T-bar and obviously make things slower and all the rest of it. It's very, very simple to use. If you want to just jog wheel back, you can go back live. So now he's in live mode, and you can tell he's in live mode because you see at the top right of the screen where it says PGM2 Live EE, that's saying the second channel is currently showing live pictures, and so is program 1 now. But the minute on program 1 he starts moving the jog wheel back, what changes? Playback. So it tells you what you're currently doing on the system. So James can scrub back as far as he needs to go. He wants the replay to be ready. There's a little kill coming up or something maybe. It looks like Counter-Strike, this game. Is it the same sort of thing?
Yeah, pretty much the same premise. Yeah.
Oh, that's good. I was terrible at that as well. So he's got his replay ready now, and you can see he's clipped it all up, and he's going to hit the play button, and there you go. He's playing the replay out. Now, he's doing all that, and at the same time, if I just do this on my multi-viewer so we can see it better, if I do this, we'll have, we'll swap this to be, yeah, that's me. Internal, physical, desktop is that one. And on the left-hand side, we'll have overhead. We'll have preview. So what essentially I can be doing is while he's clipping that up, so on the left-hand side now, I've just changed it. So the left-hand screen is my preview of my desk, right? So this is what I want to show next. I'm crouching down because I'm trying to look under this little gap under what you're seeing on the big screen. So James has got obviously his replays ready, and all I have to do is put that onto my preview channel. There he is. So he's ready. So now when he starts running replay, what am I going to do to put that replay on air? Thank you. The macro built. Magic. It's good when someone's listening. I can go home happy tonight. So now what I can do is come back to my desk because I built that macro earlier on. So when he's got his replay ready over there, he's ready. I'm going to run my macro. You can't see anything happening. Why can't you see anything happening, guys? Exactly. See, this is good. Jim, these are a good bunch. You've got a good bunch in. They're listening. Exactly. So now if I do this again, but I change this to be this. So now we've got preview at the top, and I'll change this one here to be program. Can everyone see what's going to happen now? So now I'm going to do the same thing. His replay is ready, yeah?
Ready, yeah.
So he's on replay. So if I come over here, so we're off there, and now I'm going to run my macro. He's ready. Macro's playing. Roll replay.
Okay.
There we go. Make sense to everyone? Yeah? Perfect. Now, without going too deep into this, because the replay system is very much something that you just learn by doing, essentially what you have to do is just come up here and play with it. You can start getting into things like naming clips, exporting clips, building playlists, building highlights packages. You can get really in depth with this very quickly. The important thing to do as well, if you hit the gang button, so he's hit the gang button, and you'll notice that the two channels now are white. Can you see on his replay machine? Now that means that when he moves his jog wheel back now when they're ganged, he controls both channels at the exact same time. So the great thing about this is if you can just now hit P1 and then just clip up something on P1. Oh, you've gone live on both though, haven't you?
Yeah, I do.
So yeah, it's fine. Just clip up something on A. It doesn't matter what it is.
There you go. Just take that.
Yeah. And then at the same time, get a second something else on channel B. Doesn't matter what it is. Yeah. So scrub back from here on. Let's go back to here. Just something, right? So that's where we are there. And I don't know. We'll go to there. Something like that. What we can actually do is if now you hit P1 and then hit play, he's playing out whatever is on channel 1 on the left. Can you see that, guys, right? On his replay channel, the left one. There's a button over here that says take. When he presses take, it starts playing whatever's in channel 2 onto the same one. So that's how you submix within replays. So essentially now on the second channel, he's got another replay lined up on 2 over here. Right, so let's say we want to see this now. So we're fed up of seeing this breeze thing. This challenger now hit take, and the replay moves over from the second one. So when I transition to him from the mixer using that macro I built, he can then actually start continuously just queuing different angles of the replay and mixing them that way. So he's submixing the replays. Now, something to note on that, depending on the director you have, they may or may not like that. Some directors want to do the mixing themselves on the desk, which is fair enough, or some are lazy and will say, no, you do all the mixing. I've got enough to worry about. As long as that conversation is had, it's whatever the director wants, unfortunately. He is, as we spoke about the last time I was here, whoever is directing is the one voice that should be heard. And that's not in a sort of a I'm the boss sort of way. It's just you need to have one person controlling the production. There's many moving parts to it, and someone needs to be the sole deciding voice on certain things. So does that make sense to everyone, guys? Does anyone want to come and have a go of some very expensive broadcast equipment? Yeah? If anyone wants to come up to the back. This is your time, guys. I'm here now for you guys to get hands on. We've got a couple of helpers here. If you want to see the graphics engine, the replay machine, the switcher, now's your chance.